Right, so I've got all those sanded wet and dry sandpaper. I actually gave this one a little bit of a polish. Can you see it? Probably not. So now there's a couple of grooves that I've put in on the lathe just around the edges of the, so I want to clean those up with the Dremel rotary tool with a wire brush on. That's why I've got safety goggles on. And so I'm just going to give them a quick buzz over with the Dremel just to get the grooves cleaned out, because obviously I can't really sand into those. And then I'm going to them on the polisher, so that's the next stage, so you won't be able to hear much. And here we go. You really don't want to get hit in the face off one of those bits of wire.
A few minutes later.
So this kind of works as like the early stages of polishing. It does put a shine on the metal. It takes off any little bits and again helps to take out scratches. But in itself still puts scratches in as well, so like I say, as you go through the polishing process you take them out again. So these bits that I'm doing here, the little recesses, they're quite hard to hit with the polisher. The polisher's a big wheel, so this just helps in those areas as well. When I'm doing this, it's okay to hold it with my hands, but when I'm doing the next stage with the actual polisher, it's too, it gets too hot, the metal gets too hot, and it's just too difficult to hold them, probably too dangerous to hold them as well, so I put them onto the bar, which is essentially the bar that holds them on in the machine as well. As I'm doing this, I can feel bits of metal hitting my face, you know. Like I say, it is important to wear a bit of protection. That's one. Onto the polisher. Right, this is an ancient beast. It's a messy job, but someone's got to do it. Really should have ventilation on, but like a mask, you know. But doing a quick job here, so it's not going to be too messy. Hopefully, it's very noisy, so I won't be able to talk. You won't hear a thing, but you'll see what I'm doing. Polish. Rough wheel and then on the softer wheel. That's all it takes, and then take the little grub screw out that locks that on the side, unscrew that off the bar, the next one on the bar. You can see how savage this machine is, it even wrecks your gloves.
One eternity later.
Okay. Oh, I've worked out the zoom. Next bit, I'm just going to clean these up because now the cupboard are all nice and shiny, but they've got a polish and wax on them. A little bit of thinners. Just going to drop them into the thinners. What the thinners will do is just soften up that polishing wax. Gotta get in there with a brush and clean that off. Don't want it in the thinners too long because it maybe affect the resin that holds the opal in. It won't actually affect the opal, but it can affect the resin that holds the opal in, so I don't want it soaking that for too long. The thinners just melts the wax. Could use like soap and water, but you gotta have really hot water and soap, and it takes a lot longer to do the job. Just put the thinners that I've used there back in there. So now, 5 shiny thumb screws there. Almost ready for the gold plating. Ooh, banging my head. While we're here, I'll just show you around the basement. Around. No.
2,000 years later.
There we go. Okay, so this is like one of my workbenches. This is where I build the machines, and these are all the components for the machines. These are the little grub screws that hold on the thumb wheels. So I also sit and do my engraving here. That's where I do my engraving. And then over here we've got a lot of junk, and that's the lathe. Just got a little sink over to the right here. A load more junk. So these are two Technics 1200 turntables that I'm working on. They're getting engraved too, and opals put into them. And we've got some of my BMX collection. Again, just kind of chucked all over the place. This one's in finished state. Okay, so on to the next bit. Now we've got them at this shiny, clean stage. I'm gonna shorten some grub screws for them to lock into the side, because normally they lock in at the end, but now I've put an opal in the end, so I can't use that to lock the piece on. So now we're well, actually no, I need to polish the opal. Back through here, different kind of polishing machine. Spin you around. So this wheel here, this is a grinding wheel. This is a polishing wheel. It's basically leather, and it's got cerium oxide on it. So cerium oxide is a polish that's used specifically for opals, and well, it's actually jeweller's rouge. Just need some water. Go back, and again, it's going to make a lot of noise. Just going to put a little bit of water on the wheel. So I'm going to clean these up in the sink, get the cerium oxide off them, and take a couple of pictures so you can see them a bit closer. Okay. So this is what they look like now. Hopefully you can see the colours that are popping in the opals. All shiny. I'm ready for the next stage, which would be gold plating. Getting the hang of this zoom, aren't I? Right, well, that's us for now. I'm gonna have a bite to eat, and then I'm gonna get onto the engraving. Probably we'll gold plate these at a separate time, but I'll probably record that as well so you can see it. And yeah, I'm really pleased with these. Some nice ones. Because everyone's different. And if you don't get that shine, that polish on the opal, then you don't really see the true colour of the opal. It doesn't, you know, reflect as good as what it should. So it's important to get that last bit of polish and shine on them. But they're all looking really nice. Like my big eyes. So starting engraving the body for this Type F KillerBee. Clients based in America. Obviously all communication's just been through social media, but never met the guy. I'll put a link to his stuff in the video for this, in the comments for this. So this is how I start. So I'll start with the polished machine. So I'll sand it down so that I'm able to draw onto the surface, because when it's totally shiny, the pen doesn't stick too good. Let's get my guy's name up here, because what we're doing is I'm putting an O for my client's surname. It's called Denzel Ortega, so I'm putting an O on the top of the machine for his surname. So this is how I go about things. I just draw stuff straight to the metal. It's really tricky for us to do it any other way, like to make a stencil or whatever. I can take a picture of it on my iPad and draw something, you know, the top of the machine, and then draw something up that fits loosely, but to make something that fits is really difficult. So I don't know, maybe it's just me, but that's what I've found. And so I find the best way to do this is to actually just draw straight to the machine, because it helps us get the sizes right, helps us make it fit. I just find it tricky otherwise to do that. It always looks really rough as well. That's because it is really rough. At this stage, it's just scribbling. Almost. I draw them with a yellow first, and because I can't rub out, and then I'll go on with the red, and then I'll go on with the blue, like a blue or a black. And all the time I'm just refining my line, adjusting the line so it's closer to where I want it to be. And then at the end of that, once I've got the darkest colour, generally a blue, then I'll engrave. And even when I do the blue, it still looks rough until I actually start to engrave. And I get a nice line with the engraver, but it's really hard to get a nice line with the pen. For whatever reason, I don't actually know why. Well, I guess it's the engraver like sticks into the metal, and it's just easier to control. Whereas the pen just sort of slides about on the surface, I guess, and just makes it a little bit harder to work with, to control on that surface. So I'm just getting the first map planned out. Well, you can't see it from there. Maybe I should move the camera. I'm not going to be crying about it if there's a slight difference from side to side. I think one of the things I've learned about my art over the years of creating all sorts of different sorts of art is it's mine, and what I make is what I make. I'm not trying to I've got over the things have to be perfect. I think that like things have to be as best as you can make them, but if it was ever gonna be perfect, you'd never get anything finished. There's times that I'm not happy with what I've created, for sure, and I feel like I could have done better, but at the same time I don't beat myself about it. It is what it is. What I make is what I make. That's what happened on that day. You just do your best, you know, it's all you can do. And what you end up creating at the end of the day, it's called art. Art didn't exist until you created it, and you created it how you wanted to create it. And to me, that's what art is. It's creation. It's not perfection. If it was perfect, then it's, I think, closer to engineering, you know, trying too hard, engineered, so it's planned and perfect. And I mean, yeah, you could call it art, but it's engineered art. I like to make things the way I make things, just follow my process. So I've got an imbalance here because I've got that higher up. Do I change it? Well, that's an issue as well, because I've now got two lines, two sets of marks at different heights, and I need to hit that one with the graver, not that one. And when you're doing this sort of stuff, once you start, you're kind of just following lines, so you've got to be careful not to follow the wrong line. Same with tattoos, it happens. If you make a mistake in your stencil or your freehand, you've got to be careful, really careful, not to actually do that mistake. So right, I'm going to get the graver set up and then we'll engrave that. So this is the tool, the engraving tool that goes in the end of there. So that will be called an engraving handpiece. It's air powered, little hammer inside there, hits that and pushes that through the metal. This part's called the graver. So I'm just going to put a bit of WD-40 on there. This is a diamond sharpening stone. Do a little bit of work sharpening this because you want it nice and sharp. I'm actually going to adjust the angle of it a little bit because it's got a little bit straight up. Multiple angles on the face of the gravers. It's like a V at the bottom on the cutting edge, and then there's like it's got sides, and then it's got a cutting face. I don't know what they all call, and I wouldn't be surprised if they've all got a name. But I found even, because I taught myself how to engrave, and I had to teach myself how to sharpen the gravers as well. And what I realised was it's actually like quite bloody difficult sharpening these gravers. It's a art form in itself. You can get jigs and stuff to do it, but can you see that? Shall I try and zoom in? Let's see if I can. So there's the end of the graver. You can see the shape of it there. So yeah, that pushes its way through the metal. One way testing if it's nice and sharp is to do it on your thumbnail, and if you get a good cut out of your thumbnail, the chances are you're going to get a good cut with the graver. It's always a decision where to start. You've got to start somewhere. Turn that down a bit. So this is like the first cut. I'll always go in for second cut, make strengthen up some of the lines and put some more detail. First cut. Now I've drawn around this opal because I'm going to be masking this off. This machine's going to be black, so I'm not going to engrave within that line because I'm going to be putting some masking over there to stop the opal getting damaged off the acids for the anodizing. So before I anodize it, we'll actually have to learn to anodize. So anyway, so stage one, engraving this area complete. The full machine's getting done, but bit by bit you can't draw it all on at the same time because you just end up rubbing it off, so you've kind of got to draw it on bit by bit. So the next stage will be to put this together. That's the push rod side of the machine, and this is the motor side of the machine. They're held together with magnets. So now I'm going to draw around that, put the rest of the design on, get it to that same stage. the next stage with this now is stippling. So I'll go around and just stipple around the metal, around the outside edge of everything. That's basically just creating a load of dots, again with the same machine. So I made these, that's the tool that I use for the stippling. It's hitting like that instead of cutting, it's hitting the metal, and the ends rounded and polished, so it forms little dents in the metal. And this bit here just zoom it out a bit, goes around the machine. So lift that out, put that one in, and then this goes on just like that, so I can hold the machine and get the finger around the back end of it like that. And that just helps us hold it and control it so that I can So the next stage, back with this tool, increase the depth and angle of the cuts to essentially create a wider line in places, and then on a very low setting go in and put some detail into the engraving as well, which will give it a lot more 3D look. So that's the next bit.